Hi everyone. This is Kara Golden and I'm here from Author Talks Live. Very, very excited to be streaming live right now to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and really, really excited to hear from audience members who will hopefully give us some questions. And more importantly, I'm so excited to have our next guest here to talk about her brand new book. My friend Kari Warberg Block. Here is her book, if you can see it, Gathering Around the Table. So excited to have you, Kari. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so honored and so happy to be here with you today, Kara. This
Very,
is fun.
very, very excited. So, Kari, I'm going to give myself a little more volume so I can hear a little better. But so, my friend Kari, we actually met through a group that we're both a part of called the EY Winning Women program. And we got to know each other through that. So, shout out to EY Winning Women for those of you who are familiar with it or not familiar with it. It's an incredible program that really supports female entrepreneurs. And Kari is the founder and CEO of an incredible company called Earthkind, which I didn't know about until I met her in this program. It's a US based company that develops and manufactures eco friendly pest control products. So think about not just for farms, which is kind of where it started,
Mhm.
but also households. And as you and I have talked about, even shipping companies. And I mean, lots of people have used her product. So, as I mentioned, Kari was voted, or I should say, chosen 2012 EY Entrepreneurial Winning Women, one of a few, including myself. And she was also awarded the SBA's highest honor in her home state of North Dakota. She's been the Small Business Person of the Year. She's advised the White House and the U.S. Small Business Administration and the U.S. State Congress on matters of impact and importance for women in business. And her new book, Gathering Around the Table, a story of purpose driven change through business, is just incredible. I mentioned to Kari that I finished the book this weekend. It's a very, very fast read, but there were things in there, Kari, that I didn't even know about you. And, I not only love hearing about your journey, but also just what you've accomplished. I mean, you need to stop and kind of look back on just everything the challenging times, right? And recognize kind of where you've come to be because it's pretty darn incredible.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing, starting with nothing but an idea and this deep, deep pain of something has to change. We can't have all these poisons on the planet that are continuing to kill us and harm us and not necessarily always doing the job that, they're purchased to do. And I thought, hey, why not?
I love
I
it.
have just as much of a right as anybody else to do it, and started out with nothing. As you read in the book, there's no real education in this industry. Didn't know how to do basically any of it, and learned how to do that. And today we're in about 35,000 stores across the country.
Incredible.
Working on policy and have it's really opened the door for me to write this book because I was going around talking to college students, much like with your book. And the questions that I got asked were around purpose and they were around, well, what's the next step I should take? And a lot of it was decisions. They really needed a better framework for making decisions from a place of values.
Absolutely. I love it. So just to back up, for those of you listening who do not know what Earthkind is, I mentioned a little bit about it, but Carrie, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure, sure. My company, Earthkind, makes it very easy to control pests in homes, indoor environments, and enclosed areas. We make little innovations like this little pouch made out of all natural ingredients is guaranteed to keep spiders out of your home. You just put it in and they leave on their own. So you don't have to kill them, you don't have to poison them. They pretty much leave on their own. We
That
make products for rodents and spiders. ants. We're just releasing one for cockroaches coming up next month, which I'm pretty excited about. We do mosquitoes, ticks, um, pretty much the gamut. So
It's
yeah, from
incredible.
commercial to household, so they're real professional quality, but they're safe enough. They can be used in a home from someone with no real scientific education on how to control a pest.
And similar to Hint, I mean, you really walked into a very dominated market of, big guys, right? Who I'm sure many people said, how are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to compete? You mentioned didn't have the education, didn't have the,
Mhm.
industry experience, but you just went ahead and tried, right? You just took little steps. You figured out how to call and get the meeting at Walmart. You figured out how to just get it done. And I think that's probably the biggest battle that people have, is getting past their own doubts of whether they can do it. And as you know, I wrote a book as well, really
Yeah.
talking about that. But I think you are just such a prime example of somebody that has been able to accomplish so much just by having that mindset.
Yeah, definitely persistence really, really makes a difference, right? When you have an idea, and Steve Jobs said something about your job becomes much easier. You don't have to push as hard when the vision actually pulls you there. And that was something that I really clung tight to, was that vision for a world that was earth kind. I envisioned this utopia of people and pests coexisting in harmony, and it sounded very weird to
Yeah.
people. But the thing of it is I knew from growing up with an entomologist and the work that I'd done, and our family is full of wildlife biologists and entomologists, and I saw how important critters are to pollinating the food. We'd all be dead within, I think
Right.
it's 3 weeks or a month, if we weren't coexisting with them. And pretty much everything is either eaten by a bug or eats a bug. And it's this missing piece of the ecosystem that I thought, I could address this in a very different way. So 90% of what we do is really education, letting people know that, hey, if you kill the ants, you kind of just killed your own termite instinct
Yeah.
out of
And
control.
that's what you've gotta absolutely what you've gotta think about, and so many people don't, especially when you're in the moment. So I
Yeah.
encourage everybody to send in those questions as well. We're here with Kari. She's just an incredible entrepreneur that really stayed focused and is building this incredible big business. I mean, Kari, what do you think is the biggest kind of the biggest lesson you've learned in being an entrepreneur? Maybe something that you didn't know going in.
Well, I've been an entrepreneur 8 times, officially a serial entrepreneur. And I was one of those little hustlers who was a little kid. And so the second chapter of my book is called Ode to Little Hustlers, because a lot of times those kids that start early end up doing, much bigger things when they're an adult. But for me this time, it was really, I had a near death experience and I laid on my back for almost a year. And I just kept asking myself, why am I here? Something must be really significant that I can do. And I pretty much lost all my fear at that point, because, I was courageous in doing things before, but never did I say, I want to change this industry. This is not right. And so it was almost an asset coming in, being that unlikely disruptor and a farm wife from Western North Dakota. And everybody know, but the big companies didn't take me serious, and I thought, she'll never get anywhere or anything. And, here we are on the shelf of all the major retailers and creating just as much revenue or more than some of the biggest companies. And the retailers have really opened up to us as well.
I
So
love it.
to answer your question, I think your book really sums it up. It's just you, be undaunted. You just have to keep going, because that vision will pull you. It truly will. And when you feel like you're pushing and it gets hard, it's just It's really amazing the the heroism, I guess, of the human spirit, what we're truly, truly capable of. Just
Absolutely.
amazes me so much.
You published your book through an organization called Conscious Capitalism. Can you talk to me more about how you decided to and why you decided to do that?
Yeah. So I had written this manuscript basically a couple years earlier than when I published it. And I just got busy and didn't really have any time to do it. And it was originally called "A Mouse Built This House." And what it was going through all the stories of having an invention, right? And then getting it patented and then getting it through federal EPA and then getting it onto the national retail shelves and overcoming all of those obstacles. And just before the pandemic hit, I was just looking at the numbers and I was looking at the pollution and looking at children are still like since 1975, there's 34% more childhood cancers. And
Wow.
in the home, pesticides is one of those chemicals that's unsafe. And if used wrong, it can really contribute. So I started thinking, hey, all of these homes out there, right? Um, but it wasn't just writing the book, it was really joining a movement and joining a network. And instead of going to the big house publishers, which I could have, I went to Conscious Capitalism Press, which is really a global network of second stage businesses that are wanting to uplift humanity through business and use business as a force for good. So, this group, Conscious Capitalism, has a publishing arm now. They create experiential events that help entrepreneurs and businesses innovate and empower. And it's an amazing, amazing community. So there really
They are
wasn't
an
a choice when it came to that. Of like, I have to use them as a publisher.
incredible group. So, a couple questions from the viewers. So, number one piece of advice for female founders in male dominated industries. Let's hear it, Kari.
Well, number one piece of advice, trust your gut. Trust your gut.
I
Women
love it.
prepare more, as you know, Kara. I see them pitching. Women are more prepared, almost over prepared.
I love it. Absolutely. Here's another one. I'm a backyard food grower. What's the best way to get pests out of my garden?
Oh, amazing. Well, you'd want to just start following me on the social channels because I'm a master gardener and I'm posting and I'm an expert with Martha Stewart and other national magazines out there. So right now, all summer, we're doing free content to help with that. So it's kind of a complex question. There's more to just
It
gardening
depends
and
on what you're growing, where you live, all those kind of things, I
yeah,
would imagine.
yeah.
Here's another great one. What can we do in our local communities to promote non toxic schools?
Whoa, that is such a good one, near and dear to my heart. So, school boards make the choice of the response. They have the responsibility of overseeing a lot of the contracts. And a simple thing as meeting with the school board and saying, before you purchase anything, can you first look at non toxic options to make sure that they're going to work before you go to the toxic option? And we have developed a lot of free tools that we're giving out to help people adopt those things. And I'm also working with the American Sustainable Business Council on making schools healthier, playgrounds healthier. But it's a big question because in some of the inner city areas, in poverty, it's really scary what happens. And education is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that probably and tell me if this is correct, but probably the biggest challenge around pesticides is that, for the most part, they're not going to kill you tomorrow, right? And so it's a tricky thing. where when you get exposed to these, it's like as you mentioned, the cancers, the things that are, kind of longer
Mhm.
term problems that probably stem from, longer exposure to this. And can you imagine knowing that you're sending your kid to these schools that are not really paying attention to it? So I definitely think it's a question that all should be asking. And also something very close to my heart is the water. Have they tested all the
Mhm.
water fountains to make sure
Important.
that those do not have those issues as well? But I think your book, if again, gathering around the table, a story of purpose-driven change through business, not only informative, but also incredibly inspiring for anybody who's even thinking about being an entrepreneur, or anyone who's being an entrepreneur and needs to hear about challenges that other entrepreneurs have had. I mean, you just have nailed it, Kari. It's so, so good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
incredible. So what's the best place for people to go out and find this book?
So they can visit my website, kariwarbergblock.com, and there's a tab for book. And then if you scroll down that page, there's links to all the places to purchase it.
I love it. Absolutely great. And then obviously Earthkind too. I definitely need to stock up on mine for the summer. There seems to be
Yeah.
lots of nice little bugs that I want in the environment. I just don't want them in my yard. So definitely need to stock up on those too. But thank you so much, Kari. I really, really appreciate this. And everybody definitely check out the book, the products, and
Thank
go
you.
follow Kari. And really, really excited that you shared your morning, my morning, your afternoon with us. So thanks everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Kara.